welcome to Spark TV. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you.
Very, very good. We had a catch up earlier this week, so it was so lovely to have a pre-chat, and I'm excited to share your story with everyone.
Yes, it's exciting to be here to talk to you.
Thank you. So let's start there. Who are you and what do you do?
So my name's Symantha Parr and I run a dance school. I'm a dance teacher, choreographer, make costumes, and I can sort of run events. And so I'm sort of quite experienced in the whole performing arts type area. I started dancing when I was really young and just kept going, and I really loved it. And then, when you get to that point where you're like, oh, what am I going to do with my life? I wanted to keep being involved in dance, but knowing that it's so hard to be a top ballerina or a top dancer. So, I still pursued that, but I started learning how to teach because I knew that would be a way to keep involved, and I really liked it anyway. So I started learning by assisting my own dance teacher, and then I've just been teaching ever since, really. Yeah.
Wow, I love this. It's really interesting. You're so right. So I went to school with a girl who ended up in the Australian Ballet, and you're right. It's like one in a million,
Yeah.
and it's all consuming. It's like she went to like a whole other school on top of our school. Like it was full on.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I did do that when you hit teenage years and you need to amp up your study and your work ethic, and you need to keep dancing. So I did do that. I went to a full-time dance school. I kept studying all these years whilst working and teaching. And I did eventually do a Bachelor of Dance at university in Melbourne. Yeah, so that was really good. So yeah, I kept up all that, but it's almost impossible really to get. Yeah, you've got to be super talented and really, really driven. So
I feel like that's like a lot of the creative arts, like dancing, acting, being like a painting artist. Like it's really, really hard being in a creative field and making a career out of it.
Yeah. I mean, I always sort of say, you can be an average accountant or an average, retail assistant, but if you're an average dancer, you're not going to get a job in the Australian Ballet Company. So, yeah, it's basically it's that, or there's not really any in betweens.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking when you were talking. I was like, yeah, it's either you're like the best in the world or you do it as a hobby.
Yeah.
Or you start a business like you did.
That's right. Yeah, so I always just had that thought in the back of my head, because it's a way to keep involved in the industry, which I really wanted to do. So, so I mean, I've been teaching since I was 18, and basically that's having a business, because that's the way dance teaching works. You just invoice for your time, you're just a casual, you're never employed. As I was thinking about this podcast, I was like, yeah, you don't earn super, like it's a bit of an interesting industry. You have to be, I should have been putting my own super in, but look, that's just another step too hard.
When you're 18, you never think of that. That's literally the last thing on your mind.
Yeah, exactly. So it's one of those industries which is a bit tricky, but yeah, I kept going with the teaching, and I really like it as a career because it's so satisfying, and I've really got a passion for helping other people get their love of dance and find their path through their movement and creativity, expression, all that sort of stuff. So.
So does that mean that if you've been teaching since essentially you'd finished school, that this is it, you've never had another corporate career or something, it's been like dance has been your life?
It has, although as I was thinking about it again, I have done other stuff. I did get a job in IT for a while.
Oh my God, that's like chalk and cheese.
I know. It was just because I could get a job easily and they needed workers, that sort of thing. And
Yeah.
then I was with that company for quite a while, and you work up the system, and I was actually employed for a while. And I didn't mind it, but there was never at any point that will be my career. There was no interest in it. Like, I did it, it was a job, it was fine. But yeah. So yeah, I did hospitality, but everybody does hospitality. So yeah, there's been a few sort of things, but most of my job has been dancing. Yeah.
That's so cool. I love it. And so how was the transition from being a teacher and invoicing, say, the dance school for your time to
Yeah.
actually opening your own dance school and being like
Mm.
the boss lady?
Lots of responsibility. Yeah, it's I did actually have a little bit of a go with running a dance school in Sydney before so that was when I'd finished my degree, and an opportunity came up to buy one. It was only very little, and it's sort of, what it's like to run a business. All these things that you just don't think about, especially since I was had been just teaching dance for a long time. So obviously I was capable and experienced in the bit that mattered, but all the other bits, it's a very big learning curve. Yeah. But I closed that one, or I think I sold it actually in the end, and I went traveling and stuff. But yeah, so then now that I'm in Albany in WA, I thought, oh, time again. Actually, I didn't think about doing a dance school this time. I just started by teaching one class at my kids' primary school, and I think there was 3 kids in it.
Wow.
I don't think I really had it that I'll start a business. It was like, I'll just do this, for a bit of fun. Yeah.
Isn't it funny? I was literally just talking to somebody else today, and that's exactly how their business started. They're in the I'm going to butcher the description of it, but they help kids in all stages of life. And, if your kids are struggling with basically anything, she comes in and points you in the right direction, affiliated with NDIS, all that kind of stuff. And that's exactly her story. So she was, a pediatric nurse, and then she was just helping people. She just, a friend needs help, she'll go over, give them some advice, and then it was someone's phone call that said, oh my God, you should make a business out of this. Oh, okay. And it's funny, like when you're so passionate about something, you're just like, I would just do this. Like, I just want to be involved. I just want to do it. And then it starts building and building.
Yeah, that's right. Because the primary school also invited me to teach some of the kids. So I was sort of hiring their hall just to run my little class. But then they also asked me to come in during school and teach some of their kids as well. So, I sort of started off like that. And then it just got more and more because, more people wanted to come, and then different ages, and then different, do you teach contemporary, or do you teach ballet, or what about this or that? So it just built up. And then eventually I couldn't find a venue to hire because I had too many classes. So that's when I was like, okay, I need my own venue. So that's when the real business starts, I suppose, because you've got all the overheads. And
that's what I just got goosebumps. I'm like, oh, that's the risky bit.
Definitely. Yeah, it was definitely a risk. It was actually really stressful. Just before we were ready to start the new year, I thought I had organised a hall to hire, but they pulled out at the last minute, and they said they didn't want me to because they didn't want us to have so many hours in the hall. They wanted to still have it available for other people. So it was last minute. I had to just grab a venue that I thought would suit, and you just hope that I could afford it. And but I think it proved good. It went down well, and we afforded it, and everybody loved having our own dance school rather than walking up to the school hall or the CWA hall. Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't it funny though? There is something about having your own place,
Yeah.
and which is crazy in this time of digital age and remote
Mm,
work and all those things to think like that. But I remember when I had an office at one stage, it was like, oh, people walk past, you're like legit,
mm.
you know?
Yes.
So I can
Yeah.
imagine like having the
Yeah. Yeah.
name, like the dance
Yep.
school name after everyone's like, oh, this is an established business. And you're like, we
Yeah.
were already like that in some place.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It does definitely give a sense of legitimacy
Credibility.
or
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You've got your own place, you've got your signs up, you run it how you need it and yeah, invite people to come and yeah, it certainly does. Yeah. Yeah. So that leads us to the point where I'm at now,
Yes.
where where the venue is not really so good. It's actually sort of crumbling down around our ears. It's very old, and we need to move on.
Mhm.
I've found a place, but yeah, there's this whole risk because it's more expensive, it's bigger. We need to do a setup. We need to fit it out with the flooring and the bars and the mirrors to make it look professional, like really good. So yeah, it's pretty exciting, but it's scary. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and isn't it interesting? You never get to a point where things are done. It's like every level is like, then this, and now we are too big for that, and now we're doing this. And I feel like there's these moments in business where you're stretching,
Yeah,
or you're having to take that leap of faith or that
yeah,
risk, whatever, however you want to look at it.
yeah, yeah,
It is super scary.
yeah. Yeah, and we've got all these plans for the new venue that we can't really do where we currently are. So that's
Mm.
exciting, and we think that will be good financially and, bringing in more customers. But you don't know, like we're in this limbo where we can't do it now to see. We've got
Mhm.
to wait till we're in the new place, which is going to be a little bit of time, I think. And yeah, so it's there's all these ideas. Is it going to work? Hmm.
How
Yeah.
do you have like a strategy to like make yourself feel better about taking those risks?
Yeah, that was really interesting because it was a few months ago now. I was thinking, oh, a place appeared that was good and it would work, and I had to make a decision whether I was going to take it on. And I started freaking out. I was
I'd
like,
be freaking out.
yeah, I woke up in the middle of the night going, I can't afford this. It's financial ruin, and the dance school will fall
The
apart.
world is ending.
Yes. And then I think it took a couple of weeks where I sort of, tried a bit of meditation. Um, no, I just thought it through and um, just tried to be realistic with myself. But
Mm.
also I gave myself a bit of a pep talk, I think, because I'm a person who doesn't naturally take risks, and I'm really usually try and, just take it steady. And I was like, no, why can't I take this risk? Like maybe I should step up and, look, the world's not going to fall in if something doesn't go right. Like it was, I just sort of felt like I should back myself and step up and go for it. And I've got supporters, and, my other dance teachers are really supportive, and the students are. And yeah, I just sort of took a couple of weeks to think it through, and then I'm like, no, I'm just going to do it, and I think it'll be okay.
I I love it. Like, and I just love like, sometimes we do bloody need to back ourselves, don't we?
Because
It's
often
hard
I
though.
don't. Yeah, often
Mm.
I don't at all. Like I'm really like, oh no, I can't do that, or I get lose my confidence, or I'll just hang back or whatever. But yeah, I'm like, I've got to do it sometime. Why not now?
Oh, I love it so much. I'm so impressed. And it's so hilarious too, because like this has been your life. You have done
Yeah.
this before. You've gone from a hole to a place already before. You've kind of taken that leap. You've,
Mm.
built up a customer. You've done all the things. There's all of the evidence to
Yeah.
show that you can do it and you will be a success. But still you
Mm.
go, oh, can I? Like it's why do
Yeah.
we do this to ourselves?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's I don't know. It's like your upbringing and your background, and maybe even being a woman, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
look, you see a world of men out there, businessmen, white businessmen,
Yes.
doing all these things, and you're like that's just every day in the news. This person did this and this, and then they became bankrupt or whatever. Like
Yeah.
you don't. It's not really this woman stepped up and did this amazing thing. I mean, they do, but yeah, I think there's just it's not enough seeing women out there doing stuff, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and I also think, like, to your point, we're all on different journeys, and the
Mm,
the level at which we want to step up might not be the same as
yeah.
the dude in the blue suit doing his thing. Like we just want to go from here to here. Like,
Yeah, that's
who's
right.
doing that stuff, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's
Mm,
true because I think a lot of the time I see a new business, open in town and I'm like, how do they afford that rent? How did they afford to do that fit out? Where did they get all their money from? I've never seen that business before in Albany. Like, what's happening? Like, yeah, they must have taken a huge risk. Mm,
totally. I know.
yeah,
And sometimes they only last for a few months, and you're like,
yeah,
oh God, I feel for them so
yeah.
much.
You feel so sad sometimes when you see the business close. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I think like for us, because we know it, we live and breathe it. So we know like
yeah,
exactly what they went through, exactly
yeah,
the stress, and go, oh God, it's not
yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So how did you grow? So I'm always interested in people's journeys. So going from 3 kids to maxing out the hall, then maxing out the current space, like how have you
Mm.
grown over the years? Have there been any particular things that have worked well for you?
It's a good question. I think because we started at the primary school where my own kids were going, we sort of got our name there, and maybe a couple of the friends of my kids came, and then it was probably word of mouth more than anything. I put flyers in the school newsletter and on the notice boards, and then we started using Facebook eventually and put it out that way, and that sort of got people in Albany. But I think first of all, it was mainly the kids from that school.
Mhm.
Then when I ventured out of that hall because it wasn't suitable so more, then I started getting kids from other schools. Yeah, I mean, I would advertise when I could, but I didn't really have a big marketing budget or anything. So it was just, as we did things, often I would run a holiday workshop. And that would be something where I'd say to people, oh, come and try it. It's just a 1 hour workshop in the school holidays. If your kid likes it, then you can come next term. So just little things like that. And then we started doing classes for adults, which is quite a big part of our clientele now. So
Mm.
I think I started one class and I actually persevered with that class for quite some time. So I sort of had 3 regulars, and then one person would be sick. But I kept going because my sort of philosophy at that time was it was good for me as well. Like I would be
Mm.
dancing along with the class, and so that was good for my own fitness and well-being. And we all just had fun together. And then eventually, we were attracted more people. So, yeah, it's a bit of a hard slog sometimes, but I just kept thinking about the benefits to like me or if it was just a small class we still had fun and that's just keeping it going so then someone else can come along and see that fun and want to join in, so yeah.
I do love that. I mean, it's really interesting on a couple of levels. I feel like us oldies are getting back into dance. Like a lot
Yeah,
of it's really funny.
definitely.
Yeah, like a girl that works at my other business, Scrunch, she's in her 30s and has just gone
Mm,
back to dance. My
yeah,
mum, who's in her 60s, who
yeah,
like was a amazing ballerina back in the day, she's just gone back. And
excellent.
it's so cool.
Yeah,
And she like loves it. And she's like also just, exactly what you said, having fun, that connection, that
yeah,
community. They all go out for coffee after the
yes,
class and all of that kind of stuff.
yep,
It's so cool. And I feel like, it's hard today to like factor in exercise.
yeah,
We're all sitting behind our desk working from home,
yes, yeah,
having something
yep.
exciting to go to, like dance
Mm.
is
Yeah,
so
well, our
cool.
adults are really keen. We've got ballet for adults, and then we've just started point work because we did get people interested in doing that.
Yep.
So some of them have got that background. They did dance when they were kids, but others haven't. So it's a slow process, but they're excited and they're keen to try it out. And we're like, okay, we can facilitate that. So yeah,
That's so
yeah,
good. And I
yeah.
love what you said as well about also doing it for you a little bit. Like, how
Yeah.
nice is it when our businesses actually facilitate joy in our own lives?
Yes. I was actually thinking about this a couple of weeks ago when I was starting, like I had this sort of anxiety about the new venue. I
Mm,
spent the whole day feeling quite anxious and, just trying to work. And then I had to teach my classes. And, so then I got into my class teaching away. And then by the end, I was like, oh, I feel better now. Like
yes.
exercise, good for you, helping your anxiety. And I'm like, oh, I'm a walking advertisement for
It's
the
so it is so true though. When you're having those days where it's like everything's overwhelming, it's
yeah,
too much, I don't know what to do. Like it's almost like sitting in your own space doesn't help. Like you're just
yeah, no,
contracting the issue. You got to
yeah,
get out there and let the juices flow sometimes.
yeah. And it was good, I mean, teaching is good anyway because you're focusing on someone else, you get out of your own head. But then there's that added benefit of the actual physical exercise and getting a bit puffed and getting your heartbeat up. And yeah, I felt so much better.
So good.
Yeah.
How many classes do you do? How is this possible? I always think about this with like exercise class, like aerobics
Mm.
instructors and dance teachers. Like, how do you
Oh
keep going
no.
all day?
Yeah. It's before because I actually have, I think I mentioned when we spoke last time, I pretty much had the whole of last year off with long COVID. I
Wow.
couldn't teach at all because I had the chronic fatigue and the brain fog type stuff.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm only just getting back into it. But before that, I was probably teaching. I mean, we sort of run about 14 classes a week, and I was probably teaching 10 of them or something.
Holy,
Yeah,
wow.
it's like three. Some afternoons I teach 4 classes in a row and stuff like that. So yeah,
Whoa.
it's pretty full on. But
That's
I'm not doing that now.
good, good.
Just taking it easy.
How did you go? So that's a really interesting one. So as a business owner, having to like
Mm,
step back from the doing and I guess
mm,
trust your team to pick up all of that. What was that
yeah.
like?
That was really hard because I
Mm,
kept wanting to do it, which wasn't helping my recovery. I was just
yeah,
basically told, rest. That's it. You have to just rest. And I was like, but I can't. I've got all this work to do. But
yeah.
in the end, I just had to. There's no way about it. And yeah, my teachers just picked up the pieces and did as best they could, with what we had. We did lose students,
Mm,
and I put that down to, running a service business as opposed to a product.
mm,
People get connected to the teacher. And
yeah.
because I was teaching so many of those classes, because I couldn't anymore and I had to try and find other teachers, which is also a hard thing in Albany.
Mm,
Um, the kids were like, oh, but I don't like, they'd say, I don't like the new teacher. I want Sim, and so we actually did lose quite a few students.
mm,
Yeah, so that was really hard. But I had to just accept that and we've just got to move on. Now my teachers, because they've been teaching now for a lot of classes for the whole year now, the kids are like, yeah, no, we love her, we love that new teacher because they've had the experience with them now. Yeah.
That's so
But it
good.
is a bit tricky in terms of, it's personality based really with a service business.
It's
Yeah.
so true. Like, and especially in the early days with, you kind of doing everything. I even feel that in like my marketing business, when I'm the salesperson telling everyone how exciting it is, come work with me. And they're like, so will you be the one that I deal with? I'm like, well, no, I'm the hype girl. Like, I'm giving it to someone else, but I'll still be here.
Yeah.
You're so right. Like, people get connected to us and I feel like we as the business owners are the most excited about what we do. So that like rubs off on everybody a little bit.
Yeah, I think you're right there, because I too tend to get quite excited about my new great plan and this new class I want to trial, and but you're right. I'm the one that's most excited. Everybody else is like, yeah, it's a great idea, but it's not their idea, is it? Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. I love it. Now, let's wrap this one. So, reflecting on your time in business, I
Yes.
always like to leave our Spark community with one last piece of advice that you would offer up to another woman in business that's going
Yes.
through this journey.
Well, as I said before, I came up with a few things.
I love it. I mean, I'm ready for it. I'm here.
I suppose the first thing is we've already talked about the backing, back yourself and be confident. Like, that's something I've learned this year. And I don't think you're going to get very far if you don't, like you can. I mean, all these years I've, one foot in front of the other, but I haven't really stood up and backed myself. So I think that's something to really think about. Yeah. And maybe as women, we're not so inclined to do that. So I think that's an important one.
I love it. That is awesome.
Do I keep going?
Do it. Let's do it. No, if you've got them, I want to hear them. Absolutely.
I would, if I could have right at the beginning, I would have paid someone to do the stuff that I can't. So being a dance teacher, for example, I'm not an accountant. I'm not a bookkeeper. So if I'd had the money right back then, I would have paid someone to do that. Because it just used to drive me crazy, and it's not my thing.
Yeah.
So now that I've got a bookkeeper.
I reckon a bookkeeper has got to be one of those jobs that every business owner hates.
Yes.
It's so soul destroying sometimes.
Yes.
Sitting there reconciling your Xero account.
Yep. And doing invoices and whatever else.
Yes.
Yep, for sure. So that leads me to making sure I do the stuff I enjoy, because it was a bit soul destroying when I was trying to do everything, and I felt like I didn't have time to do my creative, passion-filled stuff that I really wanted to do. And then I think what happened is I was actually approaching burnout, because I was just too much, and that was just, not good. So enforce your downtime.
Yes.
Like, oh, I've got a couple of hours here set aside for myself. Oh no, I better do my invoices. Yeah, so I think that's super important to make sure, like, hang on with dear life to your own time.
Yeah.
And what do they call it?
Boundaries. Set boundaries. Yes.
Yeah, definitely boundaries, and just setting aside time for yourself to wind down. Otherwise, you don't want to get to where I got to.
Yeah, and it is interesting, I think, like that we're just learning about like nervous system regulation, and if you are always in got to do this, task, and you don't actually have that downtime, I feel like it does actually impact your physical body, and you do get sick, and you do or are more susceptible to getting sick or lasting longer when you do have a sickness. And but it's hard. It's so hard, right? I feel guilty every time I do something myself. I'm like, I really love reading. I just want to read books all day. I open a book and I'm like just thinking about work the whole time. Like, come on, what is wrong with me?
Yeah, no, I'm the same. Like, because I'm really super getting into my downtime, because I know it's so good. But Yeah, even
Mm.
if I am just sitting and reading a book or a magazine, I feel a little bit guilty. I'm like, no, this is good for me. I'm doing this, this is important. Oh, but
And it is like you only have like there's only one of you, like we do have to look after, the bodies we're in, the brains we have, the mental state, like otherwise we won't be able to show up for our business.
yeah. Yes. Mm.
I love it. Is that all you got for me? I don't want to
Yeah,
cut you off.
I think that's it.
That's fantastic. I could not agree with you anymore. They
Mm,
are stellar. I know that all of the women in business listening in will
mm,
have some great nuggets of wisdom to take away. So that is
yeah.
awesome.
Oh, good.
Sim, you are the best. Thank you
Thank
so much
you.
for being on the Spark podcast. It was an
Thank you very
absolute
much.
pleasure.
Thanks for having me.